Welcome to Clear Path to Retirement. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Corey Zafke. Corey is founder of Clear Path Wealth Advisors. Corey, how are you today?
Great. Always happy to be in the studio with you.
I'm always happy to be in the studio with you because I know how busy you've been, and you always take the time to come in and do the shows every week because obviously you're very passionate about helping people retire comfortably, retire with confidence, clarity, and being on the clear path, if you will.
It's exactly right. It's a big puzzle, and we love to try to figure it out and make it work together better for people.
Let's talk a little bit about why you have such a passion for helping others. Where did that come from?
Well, I spent a lot of time in this industry working with people that I didn't always care for, and I had a real funky health situation a handful of years ago, and it reset the way I view things for people. And instead of, I had a mentor a long time ago that said, if you have a problem, find a solution. You know, don't just complain about it. So I got to thinking about, boy, how can we make this better? How can we have planning and advice that really helps clients? And that's when I found my partner, Taylor, and we were able to work together. And I really am proud of what we do and happy to bring it to as many people as we can.
Absolutely, because I have heard in the past that people spend more time planning their family vacation than they plan their retirement. Is that true?
I mean, quickest way to shut down a conversation would be, hey, what's your budget?
Yeah,
what do you pay in this a month? I mean, it's not fun. It's the dirty work. It's the dirty work that always pays the dividends. You want a beautiful yard? Gosh, you gotta put a sprinkler system in. If you want, you know, you have to put all the work in to make things happen, and it's not fun to do.
Sure.
But it's so important.
Absolutely. Well, along the way, Corey, have you noticed that people tend to make any sort of common mistakes? Is there one thing that you see people do that would be similar to each other?
Well, sure. I see a lot of things, and we can kind of go one by one, but I think one of the big ones that doesn't seem like a planning mistake, beneficiaries. Your life changes, you get a divorce, something else happens. Changing your beneficiaries is going to be a really important thing to do. A lot of times people say, well, I've got a will that's going to take care of it. Beneficiary designations supersede your will.
Wow, okay.
So, you know, being really clear, and when life changes, you know, maybe you're mad at your nephew and you want to take him off the beneficiary thing, or, you know, it's a really important thing that as life changes that your plans and your designations do too.
Is that almost impossible to challenge in a court? If it's a specific beneficiary that's named on something like that, is it hard to fight? Yeah,
it's almost impossible. I can't give you the actual legislation that was passed a long time ago, or judgment that was passed a long time ago, but the beneficiaries outweigh the will. So it's definite.
Wow.
So we see this, like, as we live in a world now where a blended family is something that can happen.
Of course.
You move on to a second marriage, maybe you have another family, but you have your ex on as a beneficiary. Well, if you have children with your new spouse, you've just disinherited your children, and it's going to your ex. So it's little things like that that are going to be really important to do, and it's often overlooked.
Wow, absolutely. Let me ask you another question. What about healthcare costs? Are people making mistakes regarding planning for healthcare costs?
Absolutely, and I think they're doing this in a couple different ways. One, the average person is going to spend like $250,000 to $275,000 on healthcare in retirement. Okay, but the way that most of us pay for it is going to be through Medicare. Sometimes when we're out there making our own decisions, like, oh, I saw Corey talk about a Roth conversion last time, I'm going to go do one. Well, not everybody knows that if you cross over certain income levels, your Medicare premium goes up. So there's little things like that around healthcare, rising healthcare, or even the cost of Medicare. So just being aware is an important thing, and it's a mistake a lot of people make, is not being aware.
Do a lot of people fail to plan for things like healthcare and long-term care overall? Is that something you see quite often, Corey?
Yes, it is. And the problem with long-term care is now it's getting more and more expensive, and the likelihood of us using it is increasing. So the insurance for long-term care, the premiums are going way up. So having a solution right now for a lot of people is, yep, we're going to spend through all my assets, and then I'll be on the state care. And there's lots of opportunities to have some long-term care protection through different products and things that offer multiple benefits. So that's an important thing to understand too.
All right. And Corey, I should ask you, what about when people lose a spouse? People think that sometimes their taxes or their expenses will be less. Is that true?
Yeah, I think this is one of the things we see change the most is a single filer's tax brackets are very different than a couple. So all of a sudden you might have $50,000 of income as a couple and your taxed at the 12% tax bracket, but now you're in the 22 as an individual. So there's this thing that just understanding that not only did life give you a big change that you have to adjust to, but now you've got this whole other tax thing. Your taxes might even go up. So these are all these little things that we don't want to think about, that we just have to be aware of. And I think the way we can get in front of it is just by being planful. Again, I like plans. They make me comfortable. They allow us to control a lot of things. But being planful for changes is really important.
Let's talk about the components of a well-constructed retirement plan. Corey, what does that look like for someone? What are the different facets that fall into place, if you will?
Sure. Well, there's 5 main areas in planning. Okay, we've got income, we've got investments, we've got taxes, we've got healthcare, we've got estate planning. There are subsections under all of those things, but I think you need to incorporate all of that. One of the things that is another mistake, I'm getting back to your question here, is treating different accounts outside of, let's say you've got 4 accounts at Fidelity and you've got 1 at your bank. Okay. The banker or whoever's helping you invest that needs to know about everything else. Right. You cannot have one thing that stands alone because it's not considered, you're not considering everything. So I was talking to a client just the other day, or a potential client just the other day, and he's got an account at a bank. Nothing wrong with financial advisors wherever they are, but it was a Roth IRA. And we talk about risk a lot, and your Roth should be one of your more aggressive accounts because you've already paid taxes on it. You'll never pay taxes again, so we should get some growth there. Okay. Well, it was a conservative investment in a very expensive fund. And I asked the client, I was like, hey, why are you in this? He's like, I don't know. The guy just said this is what I should put it in. If you put it in, like with our risk assessment, if you put it into our investment analysis, you could see that it was out of whack. It was way too expensive. It didn't help with his risk tolerance. It wasn't efficient. Could get in his way. Wow. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Well, Corey, I do want to circle back to the well-constructed retirement plan, if we could, because I know we're going to be opening up the phone lines in just a moment. But if someone's in the audience and they're wondering, gosh, what does that plan look like? What are we planning for? Is it taxes, Social Security, inflation? What does it look like overall, Corey? Yeah, the answer is yes to everything you just talked about. I mean, our planning starts with income versus expenses. Then we kind of take a look at how your assets are invested, but from a tax standpoint. We don't want you to have too much taxes. We kind of say, pay taxes on purpose. So we want to make sure that we get growth in the right places that are efficient. We want to make sure, so we do all those things, and then we look long-term. What does that look like for you? How long do your retirement assets last? How comfortable can you be? Is there a lot of living in those dollars too? So that's what a good, well-constructed plan will kind of take you through. That's what we do for our clients every day. I love that. Well, Corey, I know there's a very special offer that you're going to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we open up the phone lines. Yeah, I think if someone's watching right now and they want to know, does anything that he is talking about match me? Well, give us a call. We would love to do an investment analysis for you. We're going to take a look at everything you're in from an expense standpoint, a risk standpoint, see how it fits in your big picture. Sometimes we can confirm that you're doing everything right. Sometimes we're going to see that there's an opportunity to make a change. Thank you so much, Corey. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-406-8011. We know you have a lot of questions for Corey about how to plan your perfect retirement. He has the answers for you. All you have to do is call in today, 844-406-8011. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. I have so much more with Corey when we return.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Clear Path to Retirement. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Corey Zapke. He is founder of Clear Path Wealth Advisors. Corey, a great show we're having today talking about such an important topic, planning properly for retirement. In this segment, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Social Security. How important is that for someone who's planning to retire?
Incredibly important. We've kind of talked a little bit already about how we think that planning starts with income. This is one place that you have to make the right decision, and I think we often overlook it. We start paying in when we get our first job. We've got our little buddy FICA that's taking some of our money. I think it's 6.2% tax that they're pulling out regardless, and we're going to get this little pension later on. That's kind of how you can look at it. There used to be like 500 different ways to file for it. And I think it's important that when we are making a decision that's going to affect the rest of our life, that we have to take the consideration more so than just, do I turn it on early? Do I turn it on time? Or do I wait? I think there's a lot of considerations.
Absolutely. Are you finding that a lot of people are getting advice at the water cooler?
Yes. And water cooler stuff is great. Water cooler information can be wonderful when it comes to all kinds of things. But again, it's made without regard to your situation, without your risk, without everything. So if I tell you that it makes sense for you to wait till 70, but you've got an income need at 63 to have Social Security turned on, poor advice. If it's my best friend's girlfriend's sister's brother-in-law, right, telling me, I don't know where they're getting their information from. Professional advisors like us, we have continuing education. We go to educational events all the time where we keep getting new information and trying to figure out how it all works. So having a plan and making the right one when it comes to your retirement income, especially with Social Security, it's incredibly important.
Okay. And Corey, how is it funded overall?
Yeah, so what we do is every time you get a paycheck, you see a little bit gets taken out every year. But what's interesting about Social Security is that you pay in up until a certain point. So some folks that are watching might make more than $150,000 or $300,000, and there comes a point in the year where you get a raise in your paycheck because you stop paying in. So I think that's like 142, 145,000 right now is where that's at. So we're just funding in, and it goes in this big pool, and we start to pay it out to people. Well, the problem is we're living longer. You know, if we don't have a body part, we can print it, we can borrow it, we can do whatever. Right? So medicine is keeping us here longer, so the pressure on Social Security is longer. And we got more people taking out than we got putting in.
What is a great formulation for someone to decide when to file, when to start gleaning their benefits, if you will?
Yeah, I think that a great place to start is, how long are you working for? So if you're gonna stop working at 62, there's a couple questions I always want to ask people. What are you doing for health care? Is your spouse working, or are you gonna have a part-time job? Because if you turn on Social Security early, you're getting a reduced benefit, but if you're working, you know, the more you make, the less of a Social Security benefit you're gonna get. So just kind of understanding what your income need is. There might make more sense for you to take from a non-qualified account or take income from something else, or maybe even wait another year before you turn on Social Security. So it's not just 62 is the time to take it. It's if you're taking it at 62, I hope you're not working, or I hope you're making less than $18,000 a year. You know, there's all kinds of little things like that that are important to understand.
What happens if you turn it on at the wrong time, if you take it too early?
Well, so a lot of times we think mom and dad live to 75. There's no way I'm going to live past 75. We can't have a last breath, last dollar plan. Do you know what I mean? We need to consider that we are choosing a living benefit while we're alive. And if we're married, we may be making an election for our spouse. If my benefit is bigger than my spouse's benefit, when I pass away, she gets mine. So we're making two big decisions there. If you choose to turn it on too early, it may not keep up with inflation. It may not keep up with your bills. So that's going to put more pressure on your investments. That means you're going to want to chase more risk and volatility. You can see the slippery slope I'm going down.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of people are afraid of Social Security going away. Corey, what are your thoughts on that? Will it go away?
Well, we know right now that it's going to have a reduced benefit in about 12 or 13 years. We already know that that's going to happen. One of the things they're doing to combat that is they're making changes. They're getting rid of loopholes. There were a couple filing strategies before that were really clever, but they were a bigger drain on Social Security. So those aren't there anymore. Many of you watching may have seen that your full retirement age has changed. You know, it might be 66.8, 66.10, 67. I think they're going to keep pushing back the full retirement age. I think that's going to be one way that they can do it. And I think you're going to see this year, it's an election year. I think we're going to hear more talk about taxes and tax changes. And I think we'll start seeing the amount that people are paying in or how long people pay into Social Security changing. So yes, I think it's going to be there. I don't know if it's going to be there the way we think it is.
Okay. And Corey, overall, how is it taxed? How is Social Security taxed? I'm very confused about that. Can you help me understand?
Yeah, I would love
what is the clear path?
Yeah. Well, Social Security taxation's clear as mud. Okay, they have this wonderful little calculation called the provisional income calculation. It takes ordinary income plus half of your Social Security plus a few other things, and then it equals this provisional income dollar. From there, if it's under a certain amount, 0% of your Social Security is taxable. This middle part, 50% of it's taxable. And the high end of it, 85% of it is taxable. But believe it or not, even at 85% of Social Security being taxable, it's still a very tax-efficient income choice. So it's a good one for us to take time to understand. And another surprise that we see a lot with people is where planning can help is if you don't do conversions and you have a whole bunch of IRA dollars. At 72, right, you have to take these required minimum distributions out. That's ordinary income.
Right.
That's bigger. That's going to make more of your Social Security taxable. So it's funny, like sometimes we do these plans for people, and we will do conversions, and all of a sudden they're going to see that their tax brackets in retirement suck back. They might be living in the 12 or even 10% tax bracket because we were conscious enough to lower the required minimum distributions or get rid of them, and now none of their Social Security or very little of it's taxable.
Wow. Amazing. So how important is it that the Social Security Administration has correct information on file for each client that comes in to see you?
Oh, it's very important. In fact, when we used to get those little green statements, I would always tell people, make sure you look at your earnings, because sometimes they're wrong. And Social Security is going to look at your best 35 years. So you're going to want to make sure that the information in there is accurate, that your age is accurate, that all of these things are important. Because it's not their job to tell you what to do. It's their job to answer your question.
Okay.
So by having some sort of guide or somebody that can help you make that choice, it's a very important thing.
Well, Corey, I know there's a very special offer that you want to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we reopen the phone lines. If
any of you have a question about when the right time to turn on Social Security is, or you want to play around with it, we are offering up a Social Security analysis. It's a very simple process where we get a little bit of information for you and we show you what different options will be. And I think when we add that into your overall situation, we can really see what makes the most sense for you.
Corey, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-406-8011. We know you have a lot of questions for Corey about how to plan your perfect retirement. He has the answers for you. Don't miss the opportunity to call in today, 844-406-8011. We'll be back momentarily after this very short commercial break.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Clear Path to Retirement. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Corey Zafke. He is founder of Clear Path Wealth Advisors. Corey, a great show we're having today, talking about such an important topic, planning properly for retirement. We went through, of course, Social Security in our last segment. Let's talk a little bit, if we could, please, about the people that want to do things themselves. I mean, everybody has an idea of, oh, I can do this. I don't need a planner. What kind of advice do you have for those folks at home?
Sure. We call these folks self-planners, self-managers, do-it-yourselfers. I think there's a wonderful space for them, and we really respect people that like to do this. But just like I had talked about previously, we are constantly getting education. And we are getting education from IRA tax experts. We are getting information directly from the Social Security Administration. We're getting our information from a lot of sources, and it changes. The internet, if you think of something like Wikipedia, not that anybody's going out there for information, but anybody can put something in Wikipedia. You don't know if it's right. So by bouncing things off of a professional or even talking to somebody, it's an important thing. We want you to do it yourself if you want to, but we want you with all the tools you need to do it right.
Okay. What are some things that people use if they are do-it-yourselfers? Do you see people come in with spreadsheets by chance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is my favorite. So you either have spreadsheets or you don't. This is black and white. This is about as basic as it gets for people. I ask somebody what their expenses are. I have no clue. Maybe this much. I've got another person. Yeah, it's $6,713.46. Then the spouse will say, no, it's a little more because we paid that TV bill differently. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. So yeah, there's these spreadsheets, and the spreadsheet is gospel. Okay, do not mess with the spreadsheet. But this is something that we see really often with self-planners, is there's a hyperfixation. There's a hyperfixation on my spreadsheet being right. Don't tell me anything different. Okay? So what we try to do with self-managers is we are not trying to make you feel wrong, dumb, or anything else. We want to provide perspective. Okay? We do not hyperfixate on one thing. We look at all of the things, right? This is our job. And I think it's important for us to be able to see and consider everything. And I think that's what some self-managers think they're doing, but they're oftentimes missing one thing or another.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about any people avoiding like pitfalls, if you will? Is there anything that you can do to help guide them against the common pitfalls in retirement?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question. And I was actually on the phone the other day with a gentleman. He's done quite well. He's got a couple $1 million, and he is convinced that he needs to do Roth conversions right now. And by Roth conversions, I mean all of his money converted in the next 5 years. Okay. And I was like, okay. Do you know what that'll mean to you from a tax standpoint? And he's like, yes, I do. I said, okay. Do you know what that'll mean from you from a Medicare standpoint? He goes, what? He was hyper-fixated on this idea of a Roth conversion. He's got time. We could do it over 10 years. We could do it over 12 years, but he wants it done now. It's okay as long as you understand what's going on. But here, he was going to raise his Medicare premiums $150 for a couple years. You know, because that's one of the things people forget is there's this guideline. It's IRMA. There's this IRMA guideline when it comes to your Medicare premiums. As your income crosses certain levels, your Medicare premium goes up for 2 years. So we are conscious as planners. Every time we're doing tax planning, every time we're doing something, we are considering that. If we're going to do a conversion that crosses, we have that conversation with you. Are you ready for your premiums to go up $60 a month for both of you? You hate to get that surprise. Why is my XYZ more? You know, we want to make sure that people are aware of that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a very important word. You mentioned people with spreadsheets when they have their budget per se. I should ask you, how do you help someone construct a proper spending plan for their household? What types of questions do you ask them?
Yeah, we have a handful of questions. I mean, we've got a real robust questionnaire that we can ask. But a lot of times I find that people really don't understand their budget.
Okay.
And one of the easiest ways to know if you are spending as much as you're making is your bank accounts. Are they growing? So I'll have somebody that's making $10,000 a month and they think they're spending $5,000 and they've got $2,000 in their checking account. There should be more if you're not spending.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's an easy way to do it. But I think a lot of times as you take a look at 6 months worth of your experience, credit card statements, everything, and you just take a look. See what you've got, put it down on a sheet. It's painful, it stinks, it's like a food journal. No one likes to do it, but you'll learn a lot from it.
Sure.
You know, we were talking about pretzels earlier and salt and things like that, but I think that's where it starts. So those are some of the questions. What are you spending? What are you spending on? Because again, if we go back to, there's this theme I have with money is what's its purpose?
Yeah.
And if you've got money coming in, what are you spending it on? Are we shopping too much? We live in the Amazon Prime world.
Oh, yes, we do.
My neighborhood, there's boxes on every doorstep a couple days a week. We know the delivery drivers' names, right, at this point, after the last handful of years. Well, do you need all that stuff? What are you spending it on? You know, I think that's a really big part of your budget. And we all think that we plan for our own retirement thinking that our income's gonna stay the same. It's not.
Yeah.
The paycheck goes away, and we gotta be really smart about the money that we're taking out.
And it's interesting, Corey, because a lot of people feel like they're going to spend less during retirement. Do you find that to be true? Are people spending less in retirement?
I love this answer. It's yes and no. There's this idea of something called the retirement spending smile. So first year, maybe even second year, every day's Saturday, right?
It's true.
Honey, I don't know what to do with myself. My purpose is gone. My job is gone. We have to do something. Yeah. And it takes a little while to settle in. So you'll actually see your spending stay the same and even go up a little bit. And then once you kind of hit cruise control, your spending will start to drop down, okay? Until that little nasty little health bug kicks in. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you know, sadly our eyes, teeth, bodies aren't getting any better as we age. Our experiences are, but our bodies aren't. So we're going to rely more on medicine, and that's where we see spending go up.
Absolutely. Well, Corey, I can't believe we're almost to the end of another amazing episode. Any final words of wisdom and advice you want to give the viewers at home? Yeah,
first, before I do that, I'd love to say thank you to everybody back at the ClearPath Home Office. We're excited to help anybody we can. To any of the do-it-yourselfers or self-managers, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you and give you some perspective. Look over and see if maybe the way we're looking at it doesn't give you a new perspective, can't help you change the way that you look at your own situation.
Corey, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us today. That number to call is 844-406-8011. Again, any questions about retirement, Corey has the answers for you. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. See you next week.